band in Trinidad.
Yo!
Yo, check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4.
God damn it!
Hey,
bad
boy.
You know we crazy.
Hey.
Now, Shawn, I know you don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but that period. But I mean, but you coach over a couple of administrations, right? That particular administration, the David John Williams era, even though this was a former employer, double connection and so on. But we saw
we had our fallouts. That's why I left the club.
Okay, because I'm going to say that we really see a steady decline in the performance of all the teams, including at the women's level when you coach, right? You could explain, shed any light at all in terms of why the national team will consistently performing worse at that time. And I mean, what it was like for you as a coach, because they commented that the women's team had been doing well before that. They were already on a slide at that point in time. So if it is that there were things happening that were affecting the team, it must have been frustrating for the coaches too. Because at the end of the day, you all are the ones out there, name on the team sheets, you know, when the team underperformed. So what you could say about that period?
Well, it was a difficult period, right? Because Anton got in contact with me and told me, well, Jamal no longer will be with the club and he would like me to assist him. So he said, what do you think about the idea? I said, well, no problem, because, you know, I think I have a little bit of knowledge that, you know, I could lend. And I went on, and I think it was going pretty okay. The vibes was good while Anton was there. You know, we went over to Jamaica and did well. Actually, the game against Jamaica, I don't know if you saw it, but you know, the scoreline didn't reflect the run of play in the game. You know, but they actually had a professional unit when, as I said, we were flying in girls every day. We were still flying in girls every day. You know, I think Yaya came in,
Taylor.
Then we had Lauren also came in, you know,
well,
a little late also.
I remember the game because I remember Barney Show for Jamaica, you know.
Right. Yeah, so we actually went ahead in that game, you know, and we had a good vibes there. But I think everything started breaking down when David and Anton, you know, fell out because of, you know, not my cup of tea to say what they fell out for. They fell out, right? You know, as I said, what happened in Rome happens in Rome.
Yeah.
You know, so they fell out, and then apparently it was the same problem that the girls had, and then, you know, it one thing led to another, and then we had to go, and then it was about appointing who could appoint the coach, and then it didn't have a board and all that sort of thing. You know, and as I said, and I told the girls, I said, listen, I say, I am not no Johnny come lately here. And I am not one running to coach no national team, because I had my fair share of success in CONCACAF with the boys. So I know what trips are. I know what hotel life is. I know what flying on planes is all about, because back then I used to fly out nearly every year to go to Prayers Old Boys reunion in North America. So, and a coaching at Presentation, a coaching at Queen's Park. So my cup, you know, I don't really need nothing to shake my cup for anything to fall out. So I am here to serve. If there's any, and I told them that. I said, I am here to assist you all. If you all need somebody else to coach, I have no problem with that. If they find somebody else to coach, but at this point in time, I'm appointed. And once I get a job, I go in and make sure that we get over the hurdle. But I need for all to buy into what we're going to do. They had an issue with their funding, and I told them, I say, if we get over this hurdle, you could demand something. But if you don't get over the hurdle, you're demanding and not actually delivering. I say, so if you don't deliver, you're now giving them a reason not to give you something. And I told some of them, this is your last hurrah. You know, make your legacy count, because this is the last time in a major competition some of you all will be representing Trinidad and Tobago. Go out with your guns blazing, you know, and for that point in time, you know, everything was good until the whole group met. And then they started, you know.
Yeah.
And I told them, I said, listen, let me be quite straight, because, you know, some of them wanted a next coach to coach them, and they wanted
they
wanted their coach and thing. So I told them, I said, listen, if you all could get the next coach to come here, me have no problem with that. I cool with that. I come here to serve my country. I come here as a soldier to coach players. It's either we following or we not following. If only want somebody else, call management, call Trinidad, get on to the boss, and tell him fly in somebody else. I say, because I comfortable have a job. I hand them out and I must coach here. Like some people feel they must coach the team. So I think that is where the big bad wolf came in.
Yeah, and again, there's a situation not of your making, because of course the way Randy Waldrum was fired before, I guess, is what had some lingering issues, right? And what about at under 17 level now? Because I know the boys team, you had gotten to the semi-final, quarter-final round, and so on.
But hold that, listener, hold that question.
Sorry, you're not finished. All right, go ahead.
That wasn't the only point, because now you had other girls saying that they don't want Randy to come because certain players had certain privileges and certain players wasn't playing because certain players selling the coach. And it was a whole mix-up scene. A whole mix-up scene.
So it was not unanimous. It was not unanimous Randy cry. It was just a Randy cry from the most vocal.
Yeah.
It wasn't. And it was from some of the lower regime. The higher regime wanted him, and the lower regime thought they were getting a raw deal because of the higher regime. And what was going on is that, what they were saying is that some of them were saying, we were actually doing better in our in-house games. When you're playing squad versus squads, junior squad beating, first team beating the second team beating the first team all the time, and players showing and things. But that was after the fact, eh? That was on our way home. Players started to open up and say, well, look, why this didn't work out, because certain people wasn't really buying in. So people now started, because when they realize now the person I was, they get to realize, hey, I straight.
The justice man.
No side. Right, I straight justice. Straight down the middle. Straight down the middle. Straight down the middle.
Tell me though, as you mentioned, like Stuart Charles and so on, and yourself coaching youth and senior, right? What do you say is different qualities you need as a coach to do youth and senior? So what I'm saying is, can you be a good youth coach, very good, but not necessarily a good senior coach, and the same way, the other way around, a good senior coach and not a good youth coach? Because of the qualities you need in each job?
Well, for Stuarty, if you want to make reference to Stuarty.
Actually, I wouldn't stay on Stuarty. I'll talk more in general here, in terms of just generally speaking. If it is because do you need different qualities in either job? And
You You need firstly, I think you need a little more patience with boys, with youth players. You need a little more patience, and you really have to teach the game, right? You have to teach the game from scratch. Whereas the senior players, they're supposed to already know some of the fine details. So basically, you're really just supposed to be going through with them, getting them fit and working out tactical plays and stuff, because you expect their techniques and stuff to be, on par with a professional player. So I say you need to have certain qualities. You definitely need to have certain qualities. Not everybody could mix it though, because sometimes the communication, the language barrier, you should know that some adults don't or cannot communicate with youngsters as well as other people. Sometimes you're out of the age scheme that, most young players, if they have a coach, coach, you could do this, you could do that, so they want to see you do something. And then if they see you do something or you join the session, they tend to get more attached now because coach man could play, Coach man used to, so then they start to buy in now and they start to listen. But if it's, boy, coach man telling me to do this, boy, yeah, and that's the way how youngsters think. Coach man was no player, boy, coach man can't, So sometimes as a coach, you step in, even you're looking at senior players in the EPL, you'll see the coaches, in a little gig, a little 5 minutes, they get in a little rondo.
This is a Dana thing for sure.
Yeah, they get in, they keep up, they join a little keep up, But youngsters like to see that. But I think the knowledge, your knowledge base and your way of dealing with the youngsters have to be different. If you can't adapt, you can't switch it, you wouldn't be a good youth coach. I think you could more adapt now from a youth coach going to a senior coach, because I think I had that problem going to if Barney remembered, going to Queen's Park, because somebody hierarchy, they thought, yeah, Cooper have a good coaching record with youths, but can he deal with senior players the same way? But little do they know that I, at one point in time, coached W Connection reserve team, which was actually seniors along with juniors. You may have a senior got injured and he's in rehab, and before you put him onto the senior team, you give him 2 games with the reserve team, and that's what. So you will be actually coaching seniors from time to time, or you are wrong the senior session. So you will have an idea how to deal now. As I said, senior players will know if you're bluffing. They will know if you're bluffing in a wink of an eye. Yeah. And then you will get to realize now that things are really rolling as you're supposed to.
Yeah. See, what I would add to that is this. If you are a coach that could teach technique, you could operate at both levels. You could go from junior to senior. Many of our coaches can tell a player how to do something, right? So I could say, I need you to hit a driven pass, crossfield pass to that man over there. At senior level, that could work, because as Cooper said, the person supposed to already have that tool in their tool bag, that driven pass, and they could do it. So I could say to my left winger, I want you, when we reach at this point, I want you to look, if it's possible, switch the pointer attack with a driven pass, find the other winger in the half space, that kind of thing. At junior level, I may want that, but I have to coach that. I have to teach you how to hit that driven pass. And many coaches fail at junior level. And when I say fail, they are unable to transfer that knowledge at junior level because they don't really have that knowledge. They could demonstrate it. They could tell you how to do it, but they can't teach you. They can't teach you the mechanics needed in hitting that pass, what part of your foot, where your non-kicking foot has to be, how you're ending your follow through. Those things, they can't do it. If I take it back to when I used to play at youth level, which is just before the dinosaurs left the earth, right?
Yeah.
Nobody, I always say this, and this is no disrespect to any of my coaches who I had before. Those coaches dealt with different aspects, discipline and that sort of thing. I love them for that. But none of my coaches up until I was 19 ever taught me how to hit a driven pass. I learned how to do that. And when I say learn, I'm using that loosely because I didn't have it done 100%. But I had an idea how to do it from watching TV, big league soccer, as Cooper would have said, watching TV, going out in the road, in the park, trying them things, trying what you see on TV and things. And the game taught me to a certain extent. My first coach who dealt with anything concerning technique and that sort of thing for me was when I was on the national under 23 team. That's all. And that was Kendall Walks, and was when I was playing with Peterborough. He was coaching Peterborough, so he worked on certain things. Hey, you need to do so and so and so and so. And I was, all right, you understand? So many people can coach at the senior level. The senior level to me, and Cooper will correct me if I'm wrong because he has more experience, but the senior level to me is man management, is tactics, is your fitness, is geeing you up, is getting your team to meld in terms of mindset, to play how the coach sees the game. The coach sees the game a particular way, and he puts out his team to play there. At junior level, the coach now has to be more of a sculptor. So the coach now has to go in and fine-tune how these players and them can do. If I want to play in a certain way, I have to get my center backs to be able to hit a 40-yard pass, to pick out the winger, to do this, to play, to drive, to this, that. Coach has to teach those things. And if you cannot teach those things, you will struggle and you will fail them.
Okay. But also, Sheppy, let me add, because you're correct there. One of the qualities that plenty of our youth coaches, and I shouldn't say plenty because I think the colleges league is very rich with good coaches. Yeah. Accomplished coaches. So I think the colleges league, they are in good hands. But at the lower level, what I think a lot of coaches are not the tactical awareness. We tend also to think that those young players cannot be tactical. But when you look at foreign, 13, 14-year-old, they're tactically aware. Just like I said, when we go to play the Mexicos at 15 and 16 and 17, they are tactically aware. So we need also to have the ability to teach. Is about delivery. Coaching is about, as you said, coaching is about delivery and getting the players and them to buy in. Buy in meaning understanding what you need. So if you could go back and ask the player what you got out of the training session, what did you understand? And you start a question and answers. A lot of us don't do question and answers at the youth level. So, and I think this is where the lack of education comes with the youngsters. So you may hear a youngster in the US, could able to, at halftime, you tell him X, Y, and Z, and he say, but coach, X, Y, and Z not happening here, and this not happening there. So we need to come out of that mindset and think that junior players are not supposed to learn the game tactically. Let me give you a story. Let me give you a story here. And it goes back to the first Intercol I won. We had to play St. Augustine, which was Michael Grayson. And I am home, I am in my clothes to go to work because the game is in the evening. And coaching Naparima and Ruskin Mac talking with somebody, and he started to talk about how St. Augustine trump card is forget the fella, I think it's Daniel, something Daniel. He was on the national youth team. But what happens at great?
Not the real Daniel? No, the before.
No. Before that, yeah.
All right.
But what he used to do is bring him, he was a national striker, but that team was so strong that he used to bring him on in the second half when the opposition tired and wavering.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, that is the case? I said, okay. So it's something that coaches did not advise. A senior coach advised me, look, Shawn, you cannot do that. You have to teach the players or coach them a system before they go and play the game. You can't talk a system. And I say, okay. I said, okay. I went ahead with that. But that day, I walked into the Naparima dressing room and I went up on the board. And that point in time, a lot of the players, again, as I told you, were W connection players.
Mm-hmm.
And I walk in the room and I look around. I went and I hold the chalk and I look around, the marker and I look around. And the captain say, Coach man, we changing the system.
Mm. And
I laugh. I say, why you say so? He say, I watch your body language and the way you look around, Coach man, we know you're too long.
Mm-hmm.
What we going to play today? And I changed the system. And before 15 minutes in the game, we were leading St. Augustine 2-0. That was in the Intercol semifinals. 2-0. Mm-hmm. And you know what happened? Grayson had to bring on his trump card in the first half because we were dominating the game. I think Winchester and Jason Joseph scored. And we were dominating the game, and it was looking like it would have been a Liverpool Manchester in the first half. You know, the game could have finished 2-0 like the first half.
Manchester man, he liked to bring up the other nightmare boy. Lasana, want to hear about that? You know?
Yeah. In the game, there are nightmares and there are fairy tale stories. Fairy tale stories. So what happened was we made them change the system and we ended up winning the game 3-1. And then we went on again, same thing. And your boy Edwards, Jason Edwards,
mm-hmm.
with Shawn and Lester and Paul. They had to deal with El Dorado in the other semi. And they couldn't deal with Gay. And I watching the game, and we're going back to the same thing about looking at the game and scouting the game, like what Lasana did for you, Rachel Gonas.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah. So we scouted Gay and realized that Gay couldn't play on his left side.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he was the trump man for them. So every time he picked up the ball, we got somebody to stand on his right side and push him on his left foot. And we won the game fairly easy. I would say. And this is all about going back to the coach being knowledgeable enough to teach tactics at a young age.
Yeah. What we're saying is this. I agree with you. But what I'm saying is a coach can get away with teaching tactics alone. Sorry. A coach can get away. Yes. A coach can get away with teaching tactics alone at the senior level, but at the junior level, you need to coach tactic and technique. And this is why I said, I don't know if I said that when we was off air, but I believe your better coaches have to be younger.
Yeah.
And this thing again, Trinidad, it's just had a laugh. This thing again, where the Sunday, the EPL watchers, and they're watching at the Wenger and the Mourinho and the this and the that. But they're not understanding that it have men below them who give them the final product to work with. That will come out of the academy, and that's what they buy from other places, is other coaches at the junior level who work with that talent to get it where it needs to be, so that a Mourinho could say, well, here what? Same thing what you do today, Shawn. A Mourinho could say, well, here what today? We playing Wolves like to use the wingers. We change any system to XYZ to push the wingers back or to push the wing backs back. And that they could change tactic from day to day because the players have a certain level of technical ability and tactical awareness that they could adjust. That has to come from the lower levels coming up. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. So where we don't value youth coaches here, like we should, and this is a reflection of our game, where our game is going, where we no longer, for example, we no longer produce dribblers. We no longer produce dribblers in Trinidad and Tobago when that was a dime a dozen.
But
actually,
but you know why? You know why?
Yeah.
You know why, Shapi? You know why we don't
because the interaction with a boy and a girl now with the first dose of coaching, well, long time it used to be me versus you in the road, or me versus you in the park, or me small-sided game, sweat or whatever. Now it is in an academy with a man telling you use the inside of your foot to pass from point A to point B. So I never learned what Wayne Shepherd, could do with the ball, discover what I could do with the ball on my own. I now learn what you telling me to do, which is pass the ball inside my foot. So that takes away from it.
And that's a question I want to ask you now, by the way, Shawn, right? Now, you pointed to this era, the school football having a lot of good coaches right now, right? Now, the man on the street saying, but wait, I remember watching school football and you're seeing from the latter piece to the Jaron Nixon, you think, well, you used to see Sheppy with Latte running past, but you know? Right. So, the man on the street Coops saying that, but I see better football in school football 10, 20 years ago. So because of that, in my mind, that must mean that the coaches 20 years ago was better and the coaches now worse because the football now is good. So how would you explain, that to the man in the stands?
All right. So if I look back at even the time when I was playing colleges league football,
which is the same time the dinosaurs, same time with me. That was like a year or two before me. Just want to say.
Yeah, the dinosaurs were just about walking out of the forest to be extinct. But what back in those days, we weren't. I don't think the coaches were coaching tactics. It was more an individual thing. So. Reach in that half of the field, you had defenders clearing the ball up the road. You had defenders who had good techniques and stuff, could play the ball and drive the ball down the road. But you had individual ability. The football was about individualism. Players who could dribble, players who could tackle good, are good. But as a team structure, when I look, you were seeing a lot of things that you could look now and see it had little flaws in the game. But the game was entertaining. So let me bring it back to when the dinosaurs were babies. So I spoke with one of Trinidad top footballers, a guy named Ivan Digoville. And those days I was on the youth team. I was on the youth team, but I was playing senior football with Forest Reserve. And Ivan Digoville was coaching then. And I asked him, I said, what is the difference between the football now and back then? And he said, let me tell you something, it's nonsense. People talking nonsense right now. He said, because back in the day, you had something like 4 forwards. You had an inside left, a outside left, a center forward, a outside right. And so actually, when we have now more people playing behind the ball, they had more people playing on the ball. So the game used to finish 5-6-0 or whatever. But now you're trying to reserve now and win the game 1-0, 2-0, 3-0. You score, I score on you, you don't score on me. So now you're seeing people playing with 5 back, because I spoke with Mr. Edgar Vidal and he told me, he said, Shawn, he said the only thing that football has continued to develop is technical speed. He said we have exhausted all the systems that could play. We have exhausted everyone. Now, if you go back some of the systems that we play now, if you go back in the day, those systems were playing before.
Yeah.
Teams were playing them before. So we talking about players, you're saying players playing 3-5-2. But actually when they're defending in a 5-3-2. But it's the same, it's just the difference in the well now Sheppy, the new numbers 2 and 5, which is
doing
left back.
Yeah.
Right. The 2 and your 5 just going high up the field and you're leaving the 3 in the back. So it came like the Dutch 4-3-3.
3 and 3-4. Yeah.
Right. So they were playing 4-3-3 and then they realized they were getting dominated at the side of the park now. So they drop it back now. So it come like 4-2-3-1.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they were out there massage up the systems and stuff. But actually the game was more entertaining, yes, because we had more individuals. But here what's happening now, as Sheppy said, again, our next conversation with Alvin, with Mr. Cornell, Alvin Cornell, and what he said is that the same thing you're saying, we teach players to only play with the inside of the foot, but not to the outside of the foot. So we teaching them to receive the ball with the inside, but not the outside. You know, and what I also understand is that coaches tend to put their fear into the players. So, for instance, you will see before a game starts, Lasana, watch it, look at it, and you will see what I am speaking. Just before the game starts, a team goes to the training field, they do their work, they have the hour before the game, they do their game plan. But as the team goes on the football field, the coach runs to the side of the field and call a player, come. I want you to do this, that, because he see the next team set up in a certain way. And now he's starting to tell the players now, he putting his fear into the players. The players and they don't have no fear. Come like a little child they throw in the swimming pool. That child looking to swim, you frighten the child drunk, but the child looking to swim. So you want to know why this little child swimming, but the child don't have any fear, but you putting your fear into the team. So when players, you coaching players now, you're limiting the players of their technical, God-given technical ability that they have. All you have to let them know is what areas of the field that they could execute that skill. So it come like the W's, right? When, where, how, why, where, when. When you do it, how you do it, why you do it, which area you do it. So you know we have something we call the R's. Brian Williams and myself, we just use that, the R's. So you're in the front, you have a capital R. You take all the risks in front. In the middle of the field, you have a medium R. You take a little less risk. And in the back, you have a small R. You take no risk at all. So you're letting the players know exactly where they could exhibit their skill. But I think is for us as coaches, I think we probably erred in terms of stifling players from playing free-flowing football and trying to be more methodical. It come like West Indies playing cricket.
Oh gosh. Man,
No, I'm talking, hear what I said, Viv Richards.
Yeah.
Listen, Sheppy, Viv Richards will hit a ball, no technique, right? But the English, the Jeff Boycotts, will elbows facing the bowler and you get behind and you follow through. So we going back to that aspect where the technique, that proper technique where we get in the coaching book, but we know we're going back to Gali, play calypso football, play our kind of heritage, our people, play our style. So we governing down, I think, Sheppy, we governing down some of our talented players from playing by restricting them in doing certain things in certain areas. And that is probably where the difference is, Lasana.
Okay, that's interesting.
I will say this. The game itself has changed from when we used to play to now. Something that you touched on there, where you say the systems from old and the systems now, right? There's a book that I read. I'm just trying to help you expand yourself.
You actually read a book, Sheppy, or somebody read it for you?
I'm a multifaceted guy. I cook.
I thought you just cook. I thought you just cook.
I coach. I read. I am. Anyway,
you read a book. Well, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, shut up now, boy. There's a book called Inverting the Pyramid, right? I think Jonathan Wilson may be the author. I might be off there. I have it.
And actually write a book, Pyramid Scheme as we think, but go ahead.
Listen. Inverting the Pyramid, right, Shawn? And the book shows you the history of systems. And just as you said, the systems that we play now were played before, All this thing that people give Pep, all of this rating, and Pep himself said, he didn't invent anything. It's things that he bringing back. So systems were brought. 4-2-3-1, for example, was introduced in a way to kind of stifle a 4-4-2, in that you have two men covering the entry pass into the two forwards in midfield and that sort of thing. There have been systems, so systems come to counteract other systems, and therefore older systems go out of vogue. False nine, for example, was something that was played long time ago. It's now back in now because the systems that are being used now allow for that to be a weakness of them. With the SSFL, back when I played, the year when we won with Fatima, when we won North Zone, we play a system.
Fatima won a North Zone? Wow.
I ask myself, why I just bring myself on the show? Why I just allow myself to come and take part in this thing? Cooper, I'll go deal with you after. Yeah.
I thought it was me alone to ask that question, boy. But go ahead.
That year, coached by Colin Murray, he played us in something that was more a 4-2-4. Right? If I get a team coming to play me, playing 4-2-4 now, that's Christmas. That's Christmas come early. But back then, how it was and how the game was, and as Shawn said, individualism was the thing. Because when we defending back in them days, under all that talk about 4-2-4, it was man on man defending, 1v1, no zonal marking, nothing like that. It was madness until they get back the ball, right? If you bring that kind of style, that open play now, you will get slaughtered. The game allowed for a creative midfielder back then. The game allowed for a 10, a real 10. Now in modern football, the press is the 10. The defensive scheme is the 10, because you defend now in football in such a manner that it allows you to spring your attack. It allows you allow the opponent to go into certain areas that you want to win the ball, because it has them exposed to an attack in that area. So the game has changed, and the game has become more tactical now. It has become more physical now, quicker now, the speeds now. So people who watching the game back then can't expect to see the same thing now. Where I think we gone wrong is what your conversation with Alvin Cornell, which is the same thing what I was saying, in that we are stifling what Trinidadians have naturally. We do have skill naturally. We are ball handlers and ball manipulators. We are now going the route of cookie cutting players, in that everybody is the same. Everybody is a passer. Nobody could break down the opposing number 1v1, or very few can. So I think we need to get that back into the game, and then we will have that sprinkling of more entertainment into the game. But SSFL now is a much better, hear me, it is a better coached player than back then. I think the talent that was allowed to flourish, so this kind of adding to what you say, sure, your talent that was allowed to flourish back then was greater because there was less coaching. I know if I kind of contradicting myself, but
No, you're correct. You're correct. Let's coach it.
Okay. Interesting
So
point.
what Trinidad has to do, is look at what the best are doing and adapt it to what we have. You think so? So people go say, well, they're looking at them places outside and look, we only producing passers. Brazil only producing passers. It have a fella from Argentina named Messi, right? He went to Spain. Now he's an outlier. We can't say we're going to produce that. But what my thing is, he went to Spain where they're doing that same passing thing, but yet they were still able to allow his talent to flourish. So we're doing something wrong in our approach where we stifling it to the point where everybody is a passer. We need to marry the two and still get Levi Garcia. Imagine Levi Garcia is the closest thing. All they correct, man, because all they know these things better than me. I think Levi Garcia is the closest thing we have to a dribbler. And Levi Garcia is don't get me wrong, Levi Garcia is a talent. Let me put that there first. But Levi Garcia is the closest thing we have to a dribbler. And Levi Garcia, if I compare Levi Garcia to the dribblers in my day, which was Clint Marcel, Colin Rock, Leonson Lewis, Sean Lejeune, I could go on and
call me,
Huh?
I thought you were going to call me as a dribbler, I used to dribble there, on my clothes.
Yes, I know. Dexter Sandy. I could go on and on with dribblers. Russell Atapi, if you get fast and rush him. He don't look for you, but if you rush him, he will deal with you. Levi is none of them fellas and them in terms of dribbling. Levi is as good as them in a different way. Yeah, but he's not a guy who would pick up the ball and go past 5, 6, 7 players on his own.
But back in the day, Sheppy, I don't know if you ever see Keith Eddy and both Neptune.
Of course. This before Lasana time. Yeah, Sammy Lowell and all of them before. So what this was saying, we have a natural tradition of producing dribblers, and all of a sudden now we've stopped. And what has happened at the same time? The rise of the academy.
Yeah, well, my era would have been Dorica, Lyndon Andrews, Darren Lewis.
That should be fella.
Well, Dwarka
Evans Wise, of course.
Right, but Dwarka brought a different element to the dribbling. He was deception with that drag.
Yeah.
But swerve and crossovers, but Dwarka was a drag. You know, he catch you drag outside, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
when the record done with you with that drag, all your underwear, everything on one side of your body.
But I still don't feel that Levi could dribble better than Kishon Sicharan.
Okay.
I'm not doubting that. But what I'm saying is,
that a boy from St. Anthony's recently too. They call him Boy. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, but I see, Boy again is a throwback to them.
He used to dribble Sana when he played Fatima.
But listen,
only when he played Fatima he used to dribble.
What I'm saying is this. While we could say it have a boy named Boy, back in them eras, it was every team. Every team had dribblers. Yeah. What it is going on now, and to me, it is this academy and what we teach at the academy at the lower levels. The lower levels of, and when I say lower levels, let me say you start at 6, 7, wherever. You're supposed to be allowing the child to explore what they can do with the ball. That develops them. You then have them and you coach them the techniques, but they already find themselves already. They already know how to go past a person. Shawn, you ever teach somebody to dribble? We don't teach dribbling. You're not supposed to teach
that.
You're
If you're coaching
you're supposed to
1v1.
allow them. No, you give them the environment for them to dribble in, for them to practice dribble. But you don't teach. Yeah, I don't teach you.
Don't teach dribbling.
You are spanner. No, you develop that. And I put you in an environment that allows you to practice that till you, when you come in a game now and you confronted by a person and you see them standing up on that side, second, you don't even have to think about it. You know, well, we fan in this way and we go in the next way. And that is that.
But Sheppy, let me say something what could be taught, because I had a discussion with my younger son recently in terms of dribbling. And what we could teach them is that recognizing certain visual cues. Right? When a player, you're dribbling now, what is happening with the youth now? The youth is dribbling, but they're just trying to dribble. They don't know what they're really doing. They're going for a crossover and they're going for a crossover. But sometimes you don't even need to be the man, because you're already leaning on one side, his body weight is on one side. You could just go to the next side. So you have to teach them in dribbling what you're looking for. Where the weight, where the person have their weight, where they're leaning. You looking for certain things.
But we would know that instinctively. We would know that instinctively because we used to sweat all the time. Right. So by the time you're 14 years old, you already know if a man come to you this close, he's dead.
And so you know what you was doing there? You know what you was doing there, Sana?
Yeah.
That's what we call search and discover in coaching. So what is happening there is that you having time on the game, and what this is what they're calling now grassroots football.
Yeah, they're not playing enough now.
You're playing, they're trying to structure it a bit, but with less rules as possible. So now they have all kind of fancy name for the things that they say you shouldn't be doing. So long time old men used to tell you, boy, all you're playing too much small goal. But now when you look at the football, and you're seeing the overloads on top the 18-yard box in what we call zone 14, and you're seeing balls just the rondos, pack, it's no goal. And that is what you learn, Lasana, on the court, on the basketball court, on the netball court, in the streets. That is what you was doing. So discovering.
Shawn, just to show with what Lasana had brought up early on, Lasana, that day what Shawn said shows you that back then you weren't better coached, because back then you used to get dropped from teams for playing small goal. Coaches used to tell you that small goal is destroy a game, right? Now it has come to be known that enhances, because the speed of the game is so fast now. The game is so fast and the defenses are so tight now that you have to be able to play 1 and 2 touches in those spaces. That is what small goal gives you. Yeah. And that's why now, when you go to any coaching session, you would see 4v4 small-sided games. It's the same thing. So that's just to prove that argument that people have that back then it was better coaches and things. No, the education, things will evolve. The education gets better as you go along. So no, I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
But Shawn,
Lasana, it's not 1 and 2 touch again, eh? No, it's half touch.
Half touch.
Only half
touch. You're half turning and the ball just bouncing off fire. So it's just like a wall. So by the time you get in your body shape to run, and you plant your leg on your leg on the ground and put your body weight there. That ball done gone already. Done change direction already.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Shawn, one thing we didn't touch on though is how you yourself got into coaching. You can go that far back.
Yeah. Shapino, my memory is long like an elephant tusk in
You
football.
know, you wanted to work with me. So that is, coaching really started at Queen's Park. You know, you could start it up.
My coaching headache start at Queen's Park.
Right, that's
But,
development. That's development.
I really started at Palo Seco Football Academy. I was doing some coaching with Brian Williams and a guy named Keith Pereira. They were in charge of Palo Seco Football Academy. Mr. Edgar Vidal was the technical director.
You were
And
still
then
playing or you finished playing?
I finished played early because of the job. Because I started working Royal Bank, Estate Police, 1989.
Had nothing to do with the job.
And you know that job is a standing job.
Yeah.
And the
Yes,
physical
Anna.
training, the physical training down at Palo Seco wasn't easy with Mr. Edgar Vidal.
At the end, I
So-
will tell you why he really stopped training, why he really stopped playing. Remind me to get this one.
So what happened was that I couldn't keep up because my legs used to be totally spelt when I go into train on afternoons because you're standing up for 8 hours and then looking to go and train. It wasn't an easy thing. So I stopped playing relatively early. I stopped playing actually probably about 27. I was just playing South Zone. I think I actually stopped really competitively playing at 25. What really happened is that before I go back to the coaching, what made me play a little bit is that I just went down for some training down at Palo Seco, and they had this Brazilian coach came down at Palo Seco when they were starting the professional league. What's his name, boy? Ramos. A coach named Ramos. So he carried on the training session and he wanted a big tall striker. So he looks behind the goal and I just went down the road that evening to get a little physical in with the boys and take a little knock. And he told Mr. Vidal, that big guy in the back there, I want him. So I hear Mr. Vidal say, Shawn. So I say, what the hell happened to coach, boy? Coach, for guy, stop playing football out. He said, big guy, you come. The man take me for Serginho, boy. So he called me on the field and, I started playing a little bit again but I didn't play for that team. I went back and played actually for the Palo Seco team in the South Zone. So I stopped playing relatively early and I started coaching. So one day, South Zone was putting on a coaching course. That time was TTFF. And Keith Lookloy was the guy doing the course. And I went and do the course. So Mr. Vidal told me, he said, Shawn, I want you to go because I was always a student at the game. So he told me, he said, I want you to go to the course and I want you to forget that you was a player. Forget everything you know as a player and go in with a empty cup and take in everything. He said, because now the course is really about teaching youngsters. So you'll have to go from basic to really teach them about the fundamentals in kicking the ball and passing the ball and receiving the ball, that sort of thing. He said, with a senior player, you will already know. So I went through that. I went through them. And
what year, what that was?
That was about 2006.
Okay.
2006. No, not 2006. That was in the 1980. That was probably about 1987.
Jesus.
That was about 1987.
Okay.
Because
I'm making years from 2006 to 1980.
Yeah. Because when you know why I said 2006, 2007, I now remember at 2006 I was coaching at Naparima already.
Okay.
So So it was 19.
That is 97. It can be 87. That'll be 97.
97.
Okay,
My
okay.
mistake.
All right,
My
okay.
mistake. 97. My mistake.
Yeah, that's it before strikes for
So
one thing.
97, 98,
Yeah.
all that time.
You'll be 20, you'll be
Right.
27,
You're
28
correct.
there.
You're correct. Let me tell you why you're correct, Sheppy. The Pro League started, the Pro League youth football started in 2000.
Yeah.
And I went up, I left Palo Seco with Brian Williams, and we went to coach at W Connection in 2000 with Silvio.
Right.
We were coaching Silvio Span and those guys.
Right.
So you're correct. So it's 98, 97, 98. All that time I went and I did the course, and I was coaching Palo Seco youth team, did well. For the first time, Palo Seco Academy won the South on the 14s. We won the under 14s. And then football went through a lull in Palo Seco, and we took some of the youths up to W Connection. So Brian was coaching the 17s and I was coaching the 16s. And those years W Connection used to dominate the youth football. And from then, I got invited to join the National Under 17 staff because of the work I did at W Connection and at Palo Seco, because it was something like 2 or 3 seasons in a row. We won the double.
So in those days, when coaches were doing well, you used to get jobs in the national team. That's how it used to go back then.
No, well,
as opposed to now you just get a job out there anyway. But back then you used to do well and get a job.
Well, what happened with me? I had to prove myself, because when I went in there, remember I went in there now, and I went in. It had Hudson Charles, and Anton along with McComey, and they had just came back from the Youth World Cup. So I was like a greenhorn going in. From there, I went on to as you said, I was an assistant to Anton. And then I took over the head coach at the 15s and went to the semifinals. Again, I should say, poor scouting, and most of the times, poor preparation had us not going to the World Cup. Because I could remember one year we preparing on grass. That said year we were preparing on grass to go to Panama. And when we reach Panama now, all the fields are artificial pitches.
Yeah.
No scouting report was done. Probably it was done on the last month before we left. We get to realize that is artificial pitches. And then we asked to use the Center Excellence, and they told us we had to pay something like $1,000 or something, so a night to use the lights on the field.
Yeah.
So that never materialized. So TFA asking TFA to pay $1,000.
Yeah.
If you understand what I'm saying. So it never materialized because we tried to go to the hockey center where it had an artificial pitch, but then they say it was too narrow, and then the whole team could not, So we went to Panama. 2 things. Poor equipment for artificial pitch, because players went with blades and all that sort of stuff. And when we, started training on the field, because I think you go there a week before the tournament, and players started picking up injuries day in, day out. Pegs sticking in the artificial, and they over rotating your ankles or your knees and that sort of stuff. Because actually that game against Panama, at the end of the first half, the game was 1-1 after Fortune scored. And Levi, Garcia, and some other players didn't want to go back on the field because they were injured and they couldn't play. And it's only because of Mike Taylor, who I always commended for his work, because back in those days, you only have one physio working with the team. Actually, we are the only national team goes with one physio into a youth tournament. So Taylor had to be working.
How many physios the other teams generally have?
Some of them have 3. When you go to the US, the US technical staff is big as our traveling team.
And if you could explain
Our
to the
contingency.
listeners, and if you could explain to the listeners the importance of having more than one physio.
What about the viewers?
Yeah.
And viewers, them too.
Well, definitely so. Definitely so with the youth football. Remember back then, you play one day, rest the next day, and you play the other day. So you just have one day to recover and play again, right? Back in that period of time.
Yeah.
So you have somebody doing recovery with the players, and you have somebody dealing with the injuries. But sometimes you have so much injuries at one point in time, according to the surface you're playing on. It's overwhelming for one physio to deal with that. Sometimes the physio from after a game, 4 o'clock in the evening, 1 o'clock in the morning, he's still treating players. You know, I saw that happen to Hayden Ryan with the women team in the US. People didn't know. We barely had a team to go on the field. Days we training, and I and the other staff members had to join the session for an actual training session to take place because you have so many players injured, you know, and you have one physio dealing with all of that. So when you look at and this is what I say, a fresh coach wouldn't have the experience of these things not going to a CONCACAF competition before. So you go to a competition and you're like the Mexicos, and you see a truck pull up, 2 trucks pull up in front of the hotel. And when the trucks pull up, you see in like a whole pharmaceutical store coming out of the thing there. Is crutches, is casts, is soft casts, is everything you could think about. They have there for the players, right? The medics, the cooks, the nutritionists, the security. You know, you're talking about they will have a staff of about 15 to 20 people. And that is Mexico and America. When the other teams, you just have a bare staff coming there and trying to work out. When Mexico, when it's time to eat, they're not eating the same food you're eating. They have their cooks and nutritionists in the kitchen and telling the hotel staff, no, we will take care of that. Just give us the facility. And they're cooking their own food. You know, they have their own water, everything. Mm-hmm. So you're starting off at a minus when you're going to these competitions, and not speaking about the amount of international games these players have before they go into a CONCACAF tournament. So they will travel all over the world and play. And then they host a tournament home by them. And then they go into the country about 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before, and they play against the home team, because most of the times they are not seeded with the home teams. So they get games with the home teams. So they are acclimatized to all the grounds, and then they go to play the tournament. You know, with us is a totally different scenario. So you barely getting, your players actually getting international experience in the tournament. When we go into a youth CONCACAF tournament, and sometimes we do well, you know, we have been going along because we have been punching above our weights. Mm-hmm. We have been punching above our weights, and we have been getting away with it because of the lack of preparation. And now we feel, because that happened on a couple of occasions, is the norm now. Mm-hmm. So that now we have a tournament coming up, and you will give a coach 3 months to prepare the team, when in fact that next team you're going and play in CONCACAF training for 4 years or 2 years, because they come in from under 13s straight to 17s. And next thing happening with us is that our preparation is geared to qualify. I always say this, our preparation is geared to qualify for the CONCACAF, qualified through the Caribbean legs to CONCACAF. Now it's no longer so, because you're going straight to CONCACAF. Yeah. With the men, right. the boys, right? Mm-hmm. But before we qualifying through the Caribbean, then to go to CONCACAF. When Canada and the US and Mexico, they go in, their preparation is geared to the World Cup. So it's a different level of preparation you're looking at now. Different level altogether, because they hosting international teams at home, and they're going all over the world and play. If you Google it, you could see. And they go all over. So by the time you go to play a US team, you're playing an experienced US under-17 team.
Mm.
So it comes like amateurs playing against professionals.
Mm.
Shawn, which year was the last youth team you coached?
2015 with Riley and Julian and Levi and they.
Mm.
All right. And seeing we have Keston, Julian, and
we played against Polisic, eh?
Right. So this what coming at. You have Keston, Julian, and Levi Garcia, who have gone on.
Levi wasn't on that team. Levi was on the team before that.
Right, but you have coached both, and they have gone on to play at the highest level of club competition in Europe, more or less, right?
Yeah.
Or they play with clubs that play or have played at the highest level. For such a small country, that's a big accomplishment for a youth coach. What do you think is the reason you have not been given a national team since then?
Because you took my spot.
Shawn, your last position was as a head coach. Not so?
All right.
I was an assistant coach. Thank you.
So you're looking for me to throw people under the bus. No.
No,
all right.
Hold on.
Barney just drive the bus. He put the bus behind the wheel.
Hold on. I'm not talking. You see, that is the culminating thing. 2000, when I met you, when I started working with Shawn in 2015 or 14, Shawn was head coach of the national.
So you are the blind then.
National under 15 and national under 17. Because for a point in time, he had to go away and I had to run sessions and things there. Early in the piece, I get thrown in the deep end, right? But my thing is this. Why? So that's 2015. Well, 2016, 2017, 2018, all of those years. Yeah. Why is Shawn Cooper not a national still? Who produced them players that we call? Why is Shawn Cooper still not in the mix as a national coach?
Well, actually, I could say two things. Probably some people may say recycle coaches. That is one. But if they wanted brand new a recycle coach, this recycle coach continues to excel at the level that I am coaching, at youth level. So I don't know what else I have to do, but actually, I was called. I was told I would have been the head coach of the said team you would have been on. And I know you know all this story, but you want me to say it, so I'll say it.
Well, the nation had again, not me.
And I supposed to do a program and send it into TNTFA.
Who called you, Shawn?
An individual called me.
well played, Shawn.
Remember my job, Lasana. Remember my job. You don't divulge certain things. So I was called to set up a program because the team's supposed to play in so and so month, and you need to send a program because we need to send it to the board. So I did so. But you know, the Holy Spirit does dwell in you in certain times. And you know, I did the program, and I got my wife to type it out and email it to me. And I had the email just to forward it. And, the Holy Spirit said, Shawn, don't forward that, hold it. And I missed a call from an individual. And I tried to call them back, and I didn't get them that hour the night. So the next morning I called, and they say, boy, the board reject you. So I say, how you mean the board reject me? Yeah, somebody on the board say to give somebody a chance. And the vote and who abstain and wherever.
I was on a piece of paper again, and I see the coach of that team, the head coach of that team was Kid Jeffrey at the under 15 team. But go ahead.
Yeah, so I say, okay. So I said, so wait. A technical committee who is expertise in football selects a coaching staff, give it to a board who just have to say, yeah. And people on the board who that is not their portfolio override and say, give a man a chance. So I ask them, I say, so why the person was given a chance? And then, the stories with the guy said he had a C license and he more qualified and all of that. And I didn't want to go in a fighting thing there with coach fighting against coach for national team because, as I said before, I've been there and done that. So I know what to expect. If you select me on my merit, not because whatever. But whoever had the master to serve the master. And, they said, well, the situation is we already have, when that said individual said he wasn't taking up the assistant coach because he's too good to be an assistant coach to any coach in Trinidad and Tobago. Right? So I'm telling you, like the man told me, right? He's not going to be anybody assistant. He's the best youth coach it have. And I just listened to him and I laughed. So he told me he knew I was going to be given the post because I spoke to him about a Sunday or two before that. And then for all he told me, I understood that our next individual was put in the place as the assistant coach, and then Barney was the second assistant coach. And then the people decided to give the man a chance, so he went back. So that they weren't in a position to remove the first or the second assistant. So we go into the next team now, and the next team is the head coach of this team will be the first assistant, and then it have a next one who was going down, and so automatically I was left out the whole system. And that is how it went.
Yeah. You good there, Barney?
So
Me?
No, Barney well aware of the whole situation. He just played for some.
I good. I just listening to the thing.
Going back to school football, right? And your intercal successes with Naps and with Prez, right? Tell me what was special about each team in your recollection. The team you won your first intercal with at Naps, and then the team you won the intercal with Prez. What was the special thing about each side?
All right. Let me start with the 2007 Naparima team. That was a special team in the sense that they actually buy into what the staff was doing, and they were actually our players at W Connection. So
you call somebody players? Somebody key players in that team?
90% of the players were at W Connection.
You can call somebody names?
So you had Shannon Winchester, you had in the back you had Smith, you had Nigel Wright, you had Nigel Wright was a forward, you had Shannon Winchester, Nigel Wright, we had Jason Joseph, you had Karen Smith, you had Sherry Calais, Who else I could remember? We had Samuel. We had Samuel, who was the captain. A number of players who played at W Connection. So you could say the nucleus of the team, right? So that team, you could have called any system because that is how we played at W Connection. We played several different systems at W Connection, but the system, the main system the club played was 3-4-3. So that was our base system. But the coaches could have used any other system they wanted, but the players must know the 3-4-3. So if the continuity into the senior teams, they know how to play the 3-4-3. Okay. So, but that team was talented. Let me give you a story. We lost a big 5 to the said coach we spoke about just now there.
All right. San Juan.
He had a bomb team too with Samuel and goal and Elijah Manners, a whole lot of, they had a good team. And we went into
Elton John would have played on that.
Yeah, all of them. And
Elton John was in Samoa? Okay.
Yeah, we had a ding-dong battle and the game ended up, I think they won the game 2-1. The game should not end up like that, but that is how football goes. We throw away a lot of one-on-ones and we lost the game. So we lose the game. But the thing about it is that the next day we had I think the players rest that day and they trained the following day. But when Dunstan and I went to the training field the next day, a training was going on. A full training session was going on. While we reached on the ground, the team was training already. Naparima team was training already. And just what we had to do, the mistakes that we had to clear up, that was going on the training field. And Dunstan asked me, Shawn, what are we going to do? I said, nothing. I said, what we're going to do is sit down on the bench and watch the training session. And they carried on the whole training session for the whole evening. And I just wrap up the training after, and we left.
Who was the captain of that team?
Sion Samuel. And that was with Shannon Winchester and Jason Joseph. You're supposed to know Jason Joseph.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Mouse, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Mouse. And they carried on the session, full training session. And I say, Dunstan, we're going to win the Intercol. So after the game, I tell the fellas, I say, good session, guys. Next training session, what day, and we move on. And the whole mindset of that team was just focus on winning now because we won the South Intercol. That year we would have won everything, 4 titles, but we missed out on the Big 4. So we won the league, the South League, the South Intercol. We lost the Big 5, and we won the National Intercol. Because back then the league was playing in zones. So we won the South Zone and the South Intercol, the South League. So that team was a special team. That team was a special team. The team that won 2019 in presentation is our next story. I don't think it was the most talented team we had. But what went on is that we had Barney family. Barney family playing up front.
Barney claim him, yeah.
Yeah, Barney claim him. Yeah, but he only claim him because of the height. The two of them taller like 5'1.5". Both of them 5'1.5". So that's where they actually, So what happens is that team actually peaked for the Intercol. And the whole mindset, football wasn't the aspect of the training. That was the whole thing.
And they can call some of the key players too. Call some of the key players again for the listeners and viewers.
It was Jai Shepherd. We had Hulk. We had Ali Barkley.
What's our name again?
Akil Jacob.
I saw a custom calling him. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing with nicknames. Akil Jacob.
Yeah.
So we had Akil Jacob. We had right back who we had. We had Caribbean. We had Cornwall, and we had the keeper Williams, Isaiah Williams Blinky, who was a national youth keeper.
Yeah.
You know, so but that team.
Who was this keeper name again?
We had Dante Gilbert, the young, right,
Young
and then we
Dante.
had young Davidson from Tobago too, Cassidy Davidson, who was on the national under 15 with Dante Gilbert also. So we had some youngsters under 14s playing back then. Dante Gilbert actually turned 15 the day of the National Intercol, and he won the man of the match. You know, but that group was more motivational stuff we did with them. You know, like the day before the Intercol, we didn't train. The day before the Intercol, we just sat and got some of the old boys to come and speak with them, because there's really nothing you could have done. All we did was penalty kicks. We always do that, penalty kicks. So before we wrap up, we did penalty kicks, but we did a lot of motivational stuff. You know, some of them like the little get to music. Yeah, you know, I play some of the stuff for them. They just sit down. We our team song Kess. You know how people that smile in your face, but they really want to see you down on the ground, and you know, let your light shine, and you know, and it was more a team bonding thing we did with them, more than football. And then actually the guys and them say, hey, look, should people them together, and they decided, hey, this Intercol, we're going and win it. And well, the training sessions, what we did, Lasana, as I said, we do the total package, total preparation. We do the full works. So these guys were ready to play. They were ready to play. It's just about believing in themselves. And they went out there and they delivered. I mean, some of the games I look over about 30 times. I look over the games on them, because the way how the goals were scored, all the goals that we scored was off. We had some parents and they say, coach, you know, that goal, Ole did that in the training session. So all the patterns of play we did, all the goals scored, down to the last goal that was scored against Samoa, where we have a drill, a shadow play where we play the ball over the top for the 9, and the 9 will knock down for the 10, and the 10 will slip it down for the 7 to go down and cross. And when I look back now, you see the complete patterns of play, all the goals we scored against St. Anthony's, everything we did in the training session. So that victory, I think, was more gratifying to me. It was the sweeter of the 2 victories, the one in 2019, because the goals from the Intercol semi-final to the final, all the goals were scored off the training pitch. So it was gratifying to myself and the staff.
And in the final, they got the winning goal from a substitute, Jardel Sinclair.
Well, actually, Jardel, this was a story. It had a public holiday, I think it was Diwali or something like that. We had a public holiday, and we called the session on that day, and Jardel and they failed to show up for the game. And the next day he came to training. He came training injured. So I asked him why he came injured. He went and take a sweat, and he didn't come to train. So I told him, I said, all right, don't worry to change. So I tell him, I say, don't worry to change. I said, that is it for you for the season. I say, because you totally disrespect the team, what the team stand for, what the team trying to do, and you're very dishonest. And I stop him from playing. And he didn't play for about 2 games. And then the players came and they say, Coach, please let Jardel play now. I say, why? I say, all right. I say, he's only playing with Jardel. I say, but I made my decision. If Ole want to play with Jardel, Ole could go ahead. I say, but Ole have to go to a vote, the whole team. I say, but I like Pontius Pilate on this. I wash my hands. I say, because if you all lose, it will be because of that decision Ole make. So Jardel came on the team. He sat on the bench because I had one more player to put on the 18. And I look, and when they hear 17 and Jardel's name wasn't coming up, they say, Coach, we could talk there. So I say, all right, that is Ole pick. I walk out the room. I say, I'm going out the room. And when I come back in, Ole tell me who's the 18th man. They pick Jardel. So Jardel went on the bench. He played, I think that was the Intercol. The Intercol finally came on as a substitute and scored against Naparima.
So
In the other games,
he played 2 games before that?
Yeah, he didn't play. I don't think I played him.
Yeah, so as his first game back in the final. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Hold on,
So then
that is final.
Yeah, I told him, yeah. And then I told him, I say, you're still in my bad books, you know, brother. I say, your players make a call for you, but you're still in my bad books. So he on the bench for the National Intercol game. I say, I ain't too sure I put you on the team, you know. So again, they come and they beg for him. They say, oh God, Coach, put him on the team now, put him on the team. I say, okay. I put him on the team. So the game going on, and I look at the game and I said, hey, we need to change something here. And I told Dunson, I said, Dunson, send everybody to warm up. And everybody went to warm up. And then I said, all right, let them sit. So they're going back and sit down. So I look around and I say, I need to make a change. And when I look on the bench, Jardel watched me in my eyes. The first person I looked at was Jardel. When I look back, while I was carrying around my head, I look, and Jardel watching me in my eye, and he shake his head. He shake his head. And I say, Dunson, put him on. So the rest of players on the bench, you know, some of them, although there is not day going on, you know, they started smiling and they was happy for him. So he went on the field, and then I called Sheppy and I told Sheppy, I said, Sheppy, I put in here to the side of the field. He said, Coach, man, nothing wrong with that. I'll go in. I say, all right, you go to the right. I say, I'll send in on the next substitute and I put him on the right side. So I made the change. And Lasana, before you know it, I look around. Now, when I watch the time, I say penalties. So I turn around and I told them, I say, start to put down the kickers for the penalty. And as I turn back on the field, I just see the ball hit Jardel foot and it going in the goal. So I turn around and I just saw. If you look over that clip, when the goal was scored and the flash on the bench when the players were running into the stand, my both hands were on my mouth. Because when I look and the ball hit the net, I say, oh God, we score. That was my reactions. I said, oh God, we score. And I look again and say, the ball really going in the net? Because the way how the play was, the player, he cross over, and then cross the ball. So actually, the defenders were standing still, and Jardel came in, knocked it in, and that was it. That was it. So up to today, he say, Coach man, he say, if I didn't watch you in your eye, I would have never gone on the field. I said, no, you wasn't going on the field. I say, you know me. I say, because you disrespect the rules of the team and you disrespect your players. So, you know, but he came out the hero in both games against Naparima and against
Yeah. And I just
against,
checked there, the 85th minute he came on.
Yeah, because as I told you, it was time for penalties. It was closing down for penalties. So I looked over and I told them, I say, listen, I say, start to put down. I say, well, you remember the order? They say, yeah, coach, man. I say, right, write it down. Because as I said before, I am not the only coach on the team. So I will have other people doing other things while we practicing. We have people writing down the order. Because sometimes now, when you go out, Shep, you will know this, you know, you go and you ask the players, all right, you tell a player, you kicking number one, or who want to kick number one? And men say, no, I don't want to kick the first penalty. Or next man saying, I want to kick last, or whatever. Because in that point in time now, you don't want to force a youngster in that pressure situation to kick when he don't want to kick. And that is what actually happened with Naparima. Because if you all remember, none of Naparima big players kicked against us. And I spoke to them after, and what they told me was they were actually frightened to kick. So Mark Ramdeen didn't kick, Bramble didn't kick. You remember that, Chappie?
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't
I can't
kick.
remember who didn't kick, but I remember that and I think we had talked that in the stands too when we was watching the game. That the order didn't look like, you know, certain people was expecting to kick early.
Yeah, they said they were too frightened to kick, so they didn't kick. You know, but that is how Jardel. You see, it have some players that as coaches, you know that you don't need to play them a whole game. The contribution they will give you in 10, 15 minutes is the same contribution they will give you in 80 minutes or 45 minutes. So if you could give me that contribution in 15, 20 minutes, I'm not putting you on to blab out on the pitch for 30 minutes and hope that you're scoring the next 15 minutes. You're giving me production because it have some players now want to prove to the coach, hey, you should have started me. So in that 10, 15 minutes, they're giving you their all. It have other players might go on the field and they're sulking, I should have started. But Jardel is not that kind of individual. Again, a nice youth, but you know, friends, you know, sometimes peer pressure and tell them, hey boy, forget training, boy, let me go and play. Let me go and play a little game, a little small goal or something. So that's how it go. Yes, we both privileged to coach the two institutions. I was privileged to coach both institutions. So I know what is expected in both institutions, but it's much more than us.
What's the craziest or funniest story you could remember from a derby? On or off the field, doesn't matter.
One of the stories was they were, and this was crazy. We had a player in our school, and he transferred when he was in Form 3. And this is I think you could remember that Cupid.
Okay.
But
yeah, it's Corey Cupid.
Corey Cupid, but Corey Cupid came from Trinity East. Came in Form 3. But for some reason, Corey repeated Form 3 and no one picked it up. When I mean no one. So our school didn't have him repeating and the ministry didn't have him repeating. But Corey repeated. So all the documentations, and I think probably was some error somewhere, but we were called to the disciplinary committee, and that was after the fact. So here how nice this story was. I got aired from one of our players, Travis. You will know Travis at Queen's Park. And Travis said, "Coach man, all you playing a illegal man, boy." I say, illegal, man. Who man we playing illegal? He said the man from Trinity East. But he told me that when Queen's Park was in Tobago playing a game. So I didn't really study it. But when I came home now and I telling them fellas and them, the rumors start to go around. So we now saying Corey, but Corey and repeat. We know Corey and repeat. Corey and repeat. We gone in the office, Corey didn't repeat. But when we go now and we check on we went and we watch on the C list, we see Corey, the year Corey sat, Corey really should have been in Form 4. So we saying, but how this happen? We go in the office, all the documents correct. In the ministry, all the documents correct. So I say earlier, if we know this and this talk going wrong, Naparima ain't making no noise about it. Waiting for us to play Corey Cupid. So I told them, I say, Corey, I say, we feel it have some issue here with you. I say, because we hear in old talk, we can't pinpoint what is what, but you're not playing. So we went down to Mahaika to play them. And they were favorites to win because they were on top of the league. And again, same stories. Our assistant or the reserve goalkeeper was the better penalty saver. I put him in the goal with 5 minutes to go in the game, and the game ended up penalty kicks. I told him, I said, all you need to do is save one penalty. And he went, he saved the one penalty, and we won the game. But do you know that Naparima came and protest after? Because somehow they thought we would have still put Corey's name on the playing sheet.
Yeah.
But we didn't put him on the playing sheet. Now, you know, he don't have to play, but once his name on the playing sheet, you register to play.
Yeah.
But we didn't put him at all. So they were so upset. I heard a player coming out of the nap room. He said, Coach, man, if you see ruction in that dressing room, he says, bacchanal going on in the dressing room. He say, men kick down all kind of thing inside the dressing room there. I say, what? All that bacchanal. Well, I laugh at it. I laugh. I say, right, it's a ruction in the camp. Good. And next thing you know, they protest. But when they look on the list now, Corey wasn't there. They took us to the disciplinary committee, but then the disciplinary committee said, well, they could see us doing no wrong because right through the system, even in the ministry, the boy, no transfer, no repeat forms were sent in for him, nothing at all. So it was just some typo on somebody's behalf. A typo, and that was it. But that was the funniest thing I ever went through. Because when I heard, because, you know, they defeated us one time on penalty kicks. Then we defeated them on penalty kicks in our final. And then, you know, but I think most of the times we cancel out each other. Most of the times we cancel out each other because I think tactically we have to match up with them tactically because player for player, they normally have a good squad.
Yeah.
They have a good squad. The recruiting system is better than Mourinho's. Better than Mourinho, it's better than Pep. I don't know where they find the players to recruit, but there's recruit some really, really talented youngsters. And you know, just see them show up. And that's why I just be telling Sheppy, I say, Sheppy, we have a good team, you know, because I speaking now in not relative to Fatima team, but I'm talking about in relation to Naparima team, because I'm in South and I'm hearing who they have. So I telling them, I say, hey, we go make it, you know. It ain't looking good, it's looking like relegation. So it's always good to set the mark low. So if you exceed the mark, you're in a good place. But if you know, because at every year, you know, Sheppy knows that is a principal league. So the principal will call into the office and ask you, you know, what are your expectations? You know, But my expectations is always not to get relegated.
I had them expectations at that time.
I always say, I will tell him, I say, sir, we will do well not to be relegated, So you have to play the poker game. So that in a nutshell with Naparima, I mean, definitely when Angus and I coach against each other, even when with Sheppy, it tends to bring out the best out of you because is your partner, is a rival, you want to win the game. Because actually the year that we lost the league by a point is Sheppy took my point. Before we went, no, on a serious note, before we went into the game against Samoa, if we had defeated Fatima, we would not have had to win the game against Samoa in Samoa. But again, Sheppy had a fairy tale afternoon with the referee. Sheppy started laughing because a man held on Hulk jersey from the half line straight inside Sheppy and them box. And Sheppy had to get up and say, well, if that is not a foul, I don't know what is a foul. Because as I said before, we have this thing going that if a foul is a foul. If something wrong, wrong. So Sheppy got up and he started to laugh and he said, well, if that is not a foul, I don't know what is a foul. And I hear Sheppy on the next side. And I quarreling on the next side with the referee now. But what actually happened was that said referee had a beef with some of the guys in the Library League because he was the referee that, right. And Hulk and they were on the team. So, with his humanity. Yeah. So the man, Sheppy, I had to ask if the guy wanted to play for presentation because he was holding. Yeah, I told him, I said, well, look, we have an extra jersey here. We could give it if you wanted the jersey. You can lift from flying to the 18-yard box, inside the 18-yard box, and pull down the man and the referee ball play on.
So, Coop, thanks for the time. Your daughter's 27th birthday. You spent 4 hours with us. Personally, I know she's happy that you didn't spend that time with me, right?
Yeah. I might have take over the whole birthday party.
Hold on, that is Miss Doctor.
Yes.
Nicely. Tell her extend happy birthday greetings to her and thing. That is my people's man. She had to help my mate down the road when she making big money.
Yeah. So, Coop, thanks for coming on and the Burdie and Barney.
Yes, man, I appreciate it. Thanks again for inviting me. Yeah, thanks for inviting me, man.
All right. Take care.
All right, but Shawn, thanks a lot, man.
Yes, man.
It was good. It was so good that this definitely break the record. I didn't even get a chance to tell us about how we find out recently the two of us sit down on our bench, National Under 17 versus National Under 21 in the stadium. So we only the other day we find out we on the two benches. His coach called him with about 20 minutes to go in the game now. I think he tell him up and thing first and call him the game plan. And the game blow off with themselves too.
The man called me and he told me, he said, you see that man there, you see how he playing in that position? I want you to follow some of the things he doing. And we talk all the whole 20 minutes, and that was it.
Right. How we doing anything?
All right, I just do the same thing like last time. So, I want to ask that thing. Okay.
Bruh.
Yeah. So,
hold on. You can't do it.
What?
bye.
You can't do it.
Neither.
I don't realize we can't do it. Yeah. Anyway, that's not my job. That is Corey. All you. All you. I give all the ingredients. So they go deal with it.
Yeah, anyway. I go on, but we got something to eat, yes? This is Burdie.
And this is Barney.
And we out.
Just leave it over.
Now why the thing can't reach far? It's only war amongst the stars. They take the too far. Well, so when I jump or when I wave, people like it on the Congo misbehave. People like it, the people what they want. People like it.